Hello, I'm Doug Muzzio. This is the second of a two-part conversation on the state of U.S. public education here on City Talk. He's seen it from four sides now, sort of Joni Mitchell squared, from his personal life, from doing and studying firsthand, from rigorous social science research, as the president of a city school board. He's one of the nation's most important voices on public education, with a deep knowledge of and commitment to equity and social justice. And again, my daughter says he changed her life as an educator. He is Pedro Noguera, professor at the Steinhardt School of Education at NYU, the executive director of the university's Metropolitan Center for Urban Education, and the co-director of the Institute for the Study of Globalization and Education in Metropolitan Settings. Professor Noguera has written more than 150 articles and reports and has published 10 books, including City Schools and the American Dream, The Trouble with Black Boys, Creating the Opportunity to Learn, and the just-released Schooling for Resilience, Improving the Trajectory of Black and Latino Boys. His work has been widely recognized and honored. He is a frequent commentator on things education. Welcome back this week, Pedro.
Thanks, Doug. Great to be with you.
Let's just briefly review what we talked about last week. Essentially, we focused on the larger problems of the American school system, urban school system, and the trouble with black boys. We touched on the Common Core, but let's get into the Common Core and let's localize the discussion a bit. Let's talk about New York City, New York State, and my state of New Jersey in terms of their efforts. Let's start with the Common Core. You are skeptical and you are cynical about the Common Core. Briefly again, why?
Well,
why cynical?
I'm cynical because, for example, New York State, they decided to implement the test before they would prepare the teachers or the kids. Now, why would you do that except to show how much people don't know? Because they had been prepared. And this, again, it speaks to their inappropriate use of testing, which we've seen for years now, but it also speaks to their inability to understand how you implement change. They pay very little attention. We talk about the gaps. The biggest gap in education today is the gap between policy and practice.
Yep.
The policymakers work in Albany and Trenton. They have no clue about how this filters down to schools. I would say this, if they really are serious about doing something, let's make the state legislature and the governor of both states, let's start by saying, we're gonna make Trenton the model for everyone to see. Because right now, Trenton schools are a disaster.
I know.
So start there.
Right.
Before you go anywhere else in New Jersey,
Right.
fix Trenton.
Right.
Do the same thing in Albany. Got the same kind of disaster there.
Right.
But neither of them do that. They have ample evidence. Schools in affluent areas are fine. Right now, they could be improved.
Sure,
in a lot of
absolutely,
ways,
without
because
question.
we have a lot of bored and disengaged kids there.
Yep.
But when you go into schools in Patterson, in Newark, right, in New York City, in Buffalo, what you find
Yonkers,
is
Greenboro, you name
that's right. Yeah, you can go to the little towns too.
Right.
Skill, right?
Sure.
And you'll find similar patterns of not only disengaged kids, but you see teachers working without the support systems they need, without guidance counselors, without social workers, without libraries and science labs, the stuff that kids should have access to.
Okay, let's get to if you will, the conceptual and operational roots of Common Core. Teachers weren't involved in the production of it. It was bureaucrats, technocrats, and it was, as you suggest most accurately, it was implemented without the proper groundwork.
Yeah.
Now, why, I'm asking you to get into the psychology, why Cuomo and Christie, for example, my two governors, why are they so adamant about this? Why is Commissioner John King so committed to this? Why is Arnie Duncan so committed to this? Why is the New York Times so committed to this?
Well, the United States is one of the few countries in the world where there are no national standards for learning, right? For what children should be expected to learn. And I think we should have national standards. And I think that's what the Common Core was trying to do. Put in place standards so regardless of where you go to school, if you go to school in Mississippi, if you go to school in New York, you're exposed to the same standards of education.
So in a sense, conceptually, it's a new and good paradigm.
It is. And it's actually an equity paradigm.
Right.
It should not be that just because you go to school in the South Bronx, you're getting something different from kids in the Upper East Side, right? However, setting the standards is the easy part, right? It really is. The hard part is delivering the standards and making them accessible to a broad range of kids. That's where the policymakers consistently have fallen on the wayside.
Well, in New York State, and I'm involved in a project looking at New York State's implementation of Race to the Top and Common Core, they produce the test, they send it out. Teachers don't know what they're teaching too. They're not given the curriculum. They're not given the professional development. And then schools are ranked, students are ranked, and schools are closed on the basis of these measures. I know I'm loading the question, but respond.
Well, I mean,
I'm dumbfounded.
Let's look at New York City, for example.
Yeah, let's do it.
Where a really cruel game was played on New Yorkers.
Go.
2009, we're told, this is just before Bloomberg's going to run for his third term.
Right.
We're told New York City schools are great.
Right.
We're closing the gap.
Right.
80% of the schools in New York City are rated A or B.
Right.
We're led to believe we're great. That summer, they recalibrate the scores.
Right.
Oh, lo and behold, we're not great.
Right.
Lo and behold, vast numbers of kids are not performing.
But that's the state test. We knew from the national test they weren't great from the beginning.
We already knew.
Right.
We knew that 80% of the kids graduating from New York City had to take remedial courses when they went to CUNY.
Right. Our community colleges. Absolutely.
What does it
so
tell
you?
you?
Talk about
the policymakers
rates.
are playing a hoax on the public.
Let's talk about the nature of the hoax.
The hoax is this game of standards, right? We're not really doing the work of preparing our kids for college or for life in the 21st century. We're not doing that work. We make claims and boast about high standards, and we get these policymakers. You know, Cuomo says, I'm going to be the chief lobbyist for children. Which children? Which children? Not the kids in Rochester, not the kids in Buffalo, because if you were, then we would have seen things change for the better for those kids, and they haven't.
Wow. Okay, this has been called a game changer, Common Core. But you've seen
What game?
I mean, what game? What change? And in a sense, there's a pattern here, going back decades and decades and decades, that you're in a constant state of reform. So you've got what you call these silver bullets. You've got No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top and Common Core. Is it just the simplicity of the of the bullet that makes it attractive? What is it? That you don't have to really do anything? What is it?
I think that for the policymakers, they believe that that there's a lever, right? And if you pull the right lever, everything will fall into place. Now, why they believe that, I don't know exactly. By now, you would think they should have learned, right? That is, if they had even evaluated why not commission an evaluation?
Right.
We've been doing No Child Left Behind for over 10 years.
Right.
We're still leaving lots behind.
Right.
Why?
Right.
What is wrong with the law? Why won't they ask that question, right? And then.
Why don't they ask the question?
I don't know. I don't get it.
They
We
don't
evaluate.
They don't like the answer.
No. I mean, look what's happening because of No Child Left Behind. We've narrowed the curriculum.
Right.
So increasingly, anything not on the test, kids are not getting.
Right. Art, music, performance.
But it's not even just that.
No.
I'm at a school recently, and I see some kids. They're reading an excerpt from Call of the Wild by Jack London, a book I loved as a kid.
Me too.
So these kids are reading it. I said, what do you think of this story? The kid says, I like the story. He says, I wish I could hear how it ends. I said, they didn't give me the whole book? He said, no, they just give us these 2 pages. Oh, why? Because that's the way it'll appear on the test, as a passage.
Ooh.
You're not going to get a whole book. Have you ever seen anybody take an excerpt from reading to the beach in the summer to read on their own? You don't do that. You want the whole book.
Sure.
Our kids need literature. You want to cultivate reading in kids? You expose them to good literature. That's what you do. That's not what's happening in too many of our schools.
It becomes rote, it becomes regurgitative, and
It becomes disconnected, it becomes abstracted, so kids are not seeing, they're not making connections.
right, it's not engaging.
Not engaging, not
And
engaging.
you see what makes a good teacher, and that's got to be the understanding and the engagement. But what is there? I know there's no toolkit, but
Right.
there is a toolkit to a
Well, there are certain traits that are in common, you know, and anybody listening will know this. Think about the teachers that got you to like something that you didn't think you liked.
Yep.
Got you to overcome your fear of that subject, got you to feel confident and more competent in that subject. What did they do? What did they do? Usually it's a combination of things. They were highly organized,
Right.
in the way they presented.
Right.
They were clear.
Right.
But they also were compelling.
Right.
Compelling in the way they taught it. So you actually, they kind of sucked you in despite yourself.
Yep.
So I had a teacher in 7th grade. He was old school. All of us were going to read Beowulf. Beowulf in 7th grade. I'm like, this is not even English. Why are we reading this? The whole class is in uproar. But not only was he old school, he understood kids. He understood he could use drama as a
Sure.
way to engage us.
Yep.
So next thing you know, we're acting out Beowulf. He didn't water it down and lower the standard. He didn't give us Beowulf for dummies. He made it engaging. He found a way to make it matter to us. And that's what great teachers do. They understand that their job is not simply to cover the material, their job is to make it relevant and build connections to the kids. Kids can learn all kinds of things if they've got the right teacher who understands who they are and how to make sense of that material to their students.
How do we do that? How do you create that? And except in relatively isolated, unique situations, is it generalizable?
You know, we can do it. And here's the thing. I go to schools all around the country. Sometimes I go to the most dysfunctional schools. And in those schools, I will always find a couple teachers that are excellent.
Yep.
And you know how I find them? Kids will tell me.
Yep.
Kids will tell me who they
You
are.
got to ask the kids.
And you'll find them hard at work. Now, here's the sad thing. They work in isolation.
Yeah.
They're not a resource.
Yep.
You know, so if these lawmakers, going back to the Common Core, if they were serious about doing this, what they should do is shine a light on schools and teachers who are great at teaching.
Yep.
And say, look, you want to see this Common Core implemented? Go over here. These teachers
And you can put it online. You can
put it
do all kinds
online,
of stuff.
make it transparent.
Yep.
Let people see. This is how you teach it to English language learners who just arrived.
Why don't we do it?
Because they're not thorough. They're not focused on the real work of getting this thing to have the impact that it could have.
Yeah, and then there's the political elements of it.
It becomes highly politicized.
Absolutely. But there's a national revolt out there about the testing, about Common Core, but I think most of it's triggered around this really high stakes testing. Why? And it's a strange bedfellow phenomenon. You've got people on the left and people on the right. And in a sense, you're one of the, whether, willing or not, and certainly willing, one of the leaders of this, along with people like Diane Ravitch, et cetera. What's the nature of the revolt, and what could be the sort of the policy outcomes or the political context within which things might change, given the fact that you're an optimist?
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I have very little faith in Washington to solve anything, right? I mean, that's the reason why they haven't tried to reauthorize No Tough Behind, because they can't get anything through.
Right.
They're hopelessly polarized, divided. My hope for this country in education comes from local communities. Local communities where I think there's more pragmatism, where there's more willingness to do problem solving and to think things through. I don't have much faith in the state leadership either. But I'll give you an example. I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I'm at a meeting. I'm going to go back again in June, where they're there planning how to build a safety net for kids. A safety net for kids that includes preschool.
This is the state of Oklahoma.
No, this is Tulsa, the city
the
of
city
Tulsa.
of Tulsa.
The city of Tulsa doing this work. And what impresses me about who's in the room, there are people from the nonprofits, from the schools, from churches, from business. There are Republicans and Democrats. They're all working together on the same thing, how to create better schools for kids in Tulsa.
Why Tulsa? What is it about the DNA of the city or the culture? What is it?
It's not just
Can it
Tulsa.
be replicated? Is it
right.
being done elsewhere?
It is being done elsewhere. So I don't want to hold up Tulsa as being some extraordinary
Yeah,
example.
right.
I can take you to Durham, North Carolina, where people are doing similar work there. It's what's happened is, I think in certain communities, people get it, that they can't wait. They can't wait for the right governor. They can't wait for the right president. They can't wait. They got to take action right now because the kids' time is now.
Yep.
And they've got to figure out, how do we do the work now of creating the schools our kids need? And that, to me, is encouraging and a reason for some optimism.
Is that a growing phenomenon out there? That
my
it's
sense is-
basically street level?
That's right. I think that's my sense, that it is. Now, some people are doing it better than others, right?
Certainly.
And, I'll give it, Brownsville, Texas, doing it great. They are poor, dirt poor town on the border with Mexico. Go to Brownsville, Texas, and you will see a city and a community that is truly embracing its kids and its schools. It's very inspiring to see.
Yeah, but I mean, you're inspired, and a limited number of people are inspired. Why aren't these successes much more broadly viewed, perceived, and understood? What's wrong with all?
Well, some of that is media.
Okay, I answered my own question. Thank you.
We got to
shine.
shine. Media's got to shine the light, because if the only thing we hear is about the problems and about the failures and about the scandals, it actually encourages and reinforces the sense of despair and that nothing can be done. And we got to counter that. We got to show the examples and tell the stories of those educators who are doing the hard work and really making a breakthrough with kids, and the parents who are struggling and who believe in the importance of education for their children's lives. Those stories are out there.
Yeah.
And those stories could be the counter narrative to this other one that we hear from the policymakers that is often
well,
so
in part,
bleak.
you and folks like Diane Ravitch are and people on the ground are creating this counter narrative. Let's really zoom down to New York City and sort of look at, if you will, the Bloomberg model and the emerging de Blasio approach. Talk about the Bloomberg model and what it is, what it represented, its successes, its failures. Go ahead.
So I would say, I would describe, or I'm not the only one, characterize the Bloomberg model as a kind of market-based approach, right? Emphasizing choice, emphasizing school closure as a strategy for schools that are not performing.
And using these high-stakes tests as
testing.
the instrument.
That's right. And the truth is, there were some gains under Bloomberg. We have to acknowledge it. Graduation rates improved.
Yeah, but as you pointed out, you're graduating people who still need remediation. Come on.
True.
So you only get partial credit.
You only get partial credit for that. Only
credit.
partial credit, but got to give them some credit.
Okay, you got to give credit.
I would also say, under Bloomberg, several schools, new schools were created that were superior to the old schools, and the evidence is there.
Why were they, I mean, how were they superior, and what's the nature of the evidence?
That they're superior in that they're safer, they're offering a better quality of education to kids, parents feel good about being there, teachers do. I can name several of these schools just in the last 10 years that have been created across the city. And that's a good thing, right? We needed more good schools,
ahead.
right? And I hope that Blasio will continue that. Some of those are charter schools.
Right.
Some of the new schools that were created under Bloomberg are charter schools. And people should not be so political that they dismiss them just because they're a charter. We should learn from those schools. What works about those?
Okay, see, now we're branching off. I don't even know where to go. Stick with Bloomberg and what that meant. I mean, it was market-based, we'll improve by choice, we'll improve by pressure, we'll improve by humiliation, and if you don't do it, we'll close the school.
That's right.
Now, you point to some successes. Where are either the failures or the absolute or the lack of possible success?
That's right. Lots of failures. Lots of failures. For example, one of the claims they made was they were going to end social promotion. So that means, they're going to retain kids in the 3rd grade or the 6th grade or the 8th grade if they haven't mastered the work. And which I warned them then, if you retain kids at those grades, you significantly will increase likely they'll drop out.
Yep.
But what happened? We still have kids, lots and lots of kids under the Bloomberg years going to high school reading at 3rd, 4th grade level. Suppose what happened if you ended social promotion? That shouldn't happen.
Right.
Well, guess what? Another year is not necessarily intervention.
Right.
unless
Right.
we figure out why didn't the child learn in the first place.
Right.
And respond to the learning need. That's what we're not doing.
Oh, man.
It's not very thoughtful, right? So, I mean, I can go on. I mean, part of the model, the Bloomberg model, this market model, treat parents as consumers.
Right.
What we should be doing, treating parents as partners. You know who treats parents as partners? Schools like that your kids go to in the suburbs of New Jersey. Ask the educators in affluent suburbs,
Yep.
who are you accountable to? What do they tell you?
Parents and taxpayers.
That's right. Why? Because they let them know, we
Yep.
pay the taxes, you
Yep.
work for us.
Yep.
When you treat people with respect and dignity, you treat their kids with respect and dignity. Under Bloomberg, if a parent didn't like what was going on at the school, go somewhere else. Well, guess what? A lot of parents' choice is determined by information
Right.
and transportation.
And
You don't
the
have-
availability.
and access. Well, guess what? A
Absolutely.
lot of parents can't get their kids into
Right,
better schools.
right.
You know, so I think it was held up as a promise that sounded a lot better on paper than in reality.
Yeah, and then and the state tests were faulty from the beginning, and lots of folks knew that.
That's right.
Okay. Now, let's move from Bloomberg to de Blasio. How does Bill's words and his actions thus far, you know, and Carmen Farina's actions thus far, present something different than the Bloomberg years, both maybe conceptually and operationally?
Well, the first thing I think, huge, win around the preschool.
Yep.
Right? I mean, major. I mean, he put it on the agenda and got it to happen. Now,
In New York State, and certainly
that's right. It's going to help the whole state,
Yep.
not just New York City.
Yep, and also
so
it's
de
part of the
Blasio
national
gets that
conversation.
credit, not Cuomo, who kind of went along reluctantly. De Blasio is
Right.
the one who led this. Now, here's the problem, though.
Go.
I have never seen a city, there is no city in the country that has implemented universal preschool, high quality, quickly. What exactly? So why is he trying to do it so fast? Don't make it political, de Blasio. Are you listening? Don't make it political. Do it right. Take your time.
Do it pilot?
Do it pilot. Focus on the areas of the city you know have the greatest need.
Yep.
Do it well there and then expand it. Why do it? If you try to do it too quickly, they don't have the teachers, they don't have the spaces, they don't have the curriculum. There's so much they don't have.
Yeah, but isn't that endemic in all of these types of policies?
It is, and
that
this is-
you go for the macro universal because you want to satisfy everybody?
Well, I think that's the problem. And, right now, I went to go hear his State of the City speech at the first 100 days last week.
Yeah.
Very disappointed.
Yeah.
It was no information.
Right.
I want to hear. I think the public needs to hear. You wanted mayoral control, Mayor de Blasio. I supported you because you named inequality as the issue that we've
Right.
got to address.
Right.
What's your vision for the schools?
Okay.
What's your vision? And it has to go beyond preschool. For K-12, you run the whole system, 1.1 million children. Now, I've
In
heard
1,000 schools.
1,800 schools.
1,800
schools.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right.
Go ahead.
I've heard some things from the chancellor, the new chancellor, Carmen Farina, that are encouraging.
Right.
She talks about bringing in good literature. The first middle school she went to is a school in the South Bronx, MS 323, led by Ramon Gonzalez, a great principal.
Oh, okay.
If we could make more schools like that across the city, that would be great. However, she hasn't talked about how she's going to do that. That's what we need to hear from the chancellor and the mayor. How are they going to build on our successes? New York City, here's another secret, and Bloomberg gets some credit for this. New York City has more high-performing, high-poverty schools than any city in the United States. More.
And have we assessed them? Can we generalize
No.
from that? No. Why the hell not?
Because we don't study success. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Expand.
You think about it in sports. I'm a sports fan, right? If we have,
You're a Knicks fan. You have a real
I'm
problem.
Sadly, a Knicks fan. I'm a Giants fan.
Me too.
But
Go
you look at your team. You try to build on your successes. You identify your weaknesses. You look at other teams that are doing well. You try to get an assistant coach from the Patriots, maybe, to get better, right? In New York City, we don't do that in education. We don't learn from successes. We don't think about, okay, why is this school doing well? How could that school assist this school? Now, actually, New York City, the Department of Education is talking about doing that now. And let's see.
They're
give them some
talking
time.
about it.
Let's give them some time
Right, okay.
to see if that'll work. But so I'm encouraged by some of the words. I would like to hear more. I'd like to hear a vision articulated
Okay.
and a strategy.
Okay, we have a minute and a half.
Okay.
I'm Bill de Blasio. I'm hiring you to be my communications director on education. Not only communications director, but policy director. Tell me, you got a minute. What do you say? What might have you said in that 100-day speech that you would have liked to have heard from the mayor?
I would articulate a policy on charter schools. He got eaten alive.
Oh, man.
Eaten alive over this charter school.
He
had no rationale for what he's
you.
doing.
Okay.
They want to say, listen, I support charter schools, but I want them to be accessible to all kids. I want them to go into high-need areas, right, and not just serve. I want transparency. Where's all this money coming from? How are some of these CEOs able to make $500,000? I want to make sure they're accountable to the public. If they're genuinely public schools, they've got to be accountable to the public. And then I want them to work with our public schools, because when they're working and when they're serving kids well, they need to be an asset for the entire city.
They blew it.
They totally blew it.
They
I
totally
hope
blew
that they have time to recover.
And then Cuomo helped them blow it.
Well, Cuomo ate their lunch, right?
I mean, yeah, no, we have to stop because my blood pressure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Come back.
you, Doug. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for your work, your scholarship, and your commitment. It's really important stuff.
Thanks for doing the story and the show, because I think the public really needs to understand what's at stake.
Thank you. My thanks to Professor Pedro Noguera for his insights, his commitment, and his efforts to improve U.S. public education and the life chances of its students, particularly the most vulnerable and victimized. See you next week when Richard Ravitch joins us again, this time to discuss his just published book, So Much to Do, here on CUNY TV. You are wonderful. Hello, I'm Doug Muzzio. Let us know what you think about this show. You can reach us at CUNY.TV. When you get there, click on the bar that says Contact Us and send your email. Whatever it is. Thanks, no thanks, obnoxious, do it. Send it.